Hello world, what separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sports in high school.
Welcome to the Orange is the New Black podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
Hello world, we got a special one for you today. I hate when I say sometimes I'll say, man, we got a special show for you, and maybe it's not as crazy as I think it's going to be or whatever. This is super special. We have none other than the Coach Jimmy Burrow, here with us this afternoon for a lunchtime special. Coach Burrow, how you doing this evening? Talk to the people.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. We had fun the other night in the stands, didn't we?
Yes, sir. I told somebody after the game, I said, man, what are the chances that I'm sitting 2 rows behind Coach Burrow?
That was fun to meet you and to hang out. We were all super excited, and what a day that was.
Man, what a day. What a day. I think 10 days from now, we're going to be talking about a different what a day. How do you
We're
feel?
excited and can't wait to get there. You know, a lot of hard work, I'm sure, for the Bengals, but I think they started back today doing some things, and they'll be ready. Zach will have them ready.
Definitely. Just kicking things off, Mr. Burrow. When did you know that your son Joe was just going to be special?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, they were doing shotgun things in like 3rd and 4th grade, so I'm going, this is pretty cool that, you know, normally at that age you're getting in a under center and you hand it off, but they were putting him in shotgun. So I'm thinking, yeah, you know, he might be a pretty good quarterback, but we thought he was going to be a basketball player initially because of his body build, and he was a heck of a basketball player. He played on a travel team eventually out of Chillicothe, and but the 10th grade when he became the Athens High quarterback, and they put in the spread, the no huddle, and he's able to run up and down the field basically the next 3 years with a whole group of really good athletes. It was kind of the perfect storm, similar to LSU, and that class had all kind of guys, about 4 or so played Division I football at we're a smaller class. So, but that year, sophomore, we won a playoff game for, I think, Athens' first time, and he threw for a ton of yards, and it just seemed like he had a great feel for the spread. And you know, you're watching college football, and I was a part of it. I know how hard it is to find a quarterback that can do that sort of thing. And so I thought maybe he had a chance at least to play Division I football at that time. Never, you know, did I say, hey, I know this guy is going to be in the NFL, maybe until LSU, I guess.
I think just to kind of piggyback off of what Ace was saying too, let me ask you another question. Sometimes we get a bit of what I call like rage, where something really, you know, incredible happened, and then we finally get to see the fire from Joe. Like, and you know, like I remember like that 49ers game. Like that's one of my favorite Joe Burrow games, right? Early on, did you have some moments where you might have had to talk to him and just say, hey, look, you got to kind of calm it down? Or was he always like somebody that had just this contained fireball and just know when to kick it in?
Yeah, he was just always under control. I mean, he was cool and confident. I mean, he won some games with free throws at the end of the game, and in basketball, that was very young. He had the composure to step up to the line and take care of that. He hit home runs in Little League baseball and travel baseball at really the most opportune times late in the game, and we needed a couple of runs, and never too high, never too low. Had a lot of fun with his teammates. That's kind of been his thing. That's why he played multiple sports. But his calmness and composure has really been like that for the most part. Maybe at Ohio State in a few scrimmages that got so competitive that you might have seen him, jawing with some of those defensive guys over there at Ohio State. But for the most part, straight arrow, not too high, not too low.
Definitely. So one game that I want to talk about in specific is the 525 game What were just your thoughts on that game? Because we kind of heard some chirping from the defensive coordinator before the game, and it kind of seemed like Joe just kind of made it a point with his play on the field that day. That was a historic day for Joe.
Yeah, he seems to, he doesn't get on social media, but he hears things and he knows what's said. I'm sure that was brought up. He doesn't really go in the game bragging that he's going to do something, but there's a lot of things over the years that gives him fuel for the fire, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and that goes all the way back to our playoff run in high school, small school. People said we couldn't get to the championship, and we were playing St. Vincent, St. Mary, and people like that. We got through it. The Ohio State that he had to eventually leave, he used that as a chip on his shoulder. Going to LSU, and everybody said, well, they can't do it. They've never had a quarterback. So all those things. Even you go back to the Elite 11 in Columbus, I can promise you he knows exactly who the people were that didn't get him to the second round. He didn't even make it to the second round in the Elite 11 in Columbus. So that all adds up to, in Joe's mind, to put a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to prove everybody wrong. So I think he had a little smile on his face after that big game against Baltimore. But he also knows we have to play those guys 2 times every year, right?
For sure. On that game, one thing I think idiots like me on the internet, like, we get caught up in the stuff that Joe doesn't. And, I don't know if you saw this one that I really, really took kind of personal. I think it's like guys like Bart Scott that spoke out after that and just like, yeah, he doesn't understand. Like, we got a bounty on this guy, like, like every single year or whatever like that. Does Joe see stupid stuff like that too? Or is that like even a part of his thought process?
No, he doesn't see that, but I did. And I saved it. So,
right.
I thought that was a little over the top.
Me too.
I don't know the guy, but you're free to speak as you think, I guess, and as you want to. But I don't think Joe pays attention to that. But you surely do. I heard it, and I thought that was a little too much. But it is what it is.
When he not professional.
When he said that, I thought about immediately like this is football, and like families and all these different things are like kind of intertwined with this, and that was one I didn't really appreciate at all myself. So I just always think about like what's going around and what will prompt somebody, and I think it's just fueled by fear or something like that of your son being really, really good. So I don't know.
There's for the most part, the media has always been really good to Joe, to our family. There's been criticism over the years, but that's okay. And as long as it doesn't get personal, then we're good with just about anything. And I hear more of it than Joe. I occasionally I'll text him something, but he never responds. So I know he doesn't respond, but that's not that unusual during the course of the game week. We don't have a lot of communication.
For sure.
So for me, I feel like one of Joe's elite abilities is to be able to go down and break down film and sit with Chase and do things like that. Obviously, I feel like he had to kind of learn that from you. Like, as a coach, what has Joe learned from you to take his IQ just to a whole other level?
Well, I never wanted and we didn't watch a ton of film every week, every hour, that sort of thing. But some of the games I didn't see of him growing up and maybe even high school. So if I got home on a Thursday night, I might say, hey, do you want to watch some film? And we'd watch it during the playoff season. I might watch his opponent with him occasionally and just see what they were doing in the back end. So, but I never wanted to be one of those parents that every time you wanted to do something like that Joe thought it was a chore kind of to watch film with his dad. And oh my God, here comes my coach dad wanting to rip me again about some things. So we made it fun and only when he wanted to, but also from watching, when your family's in one of your family is a coach, you kind of gravitate to watch that position maybe that your dad is coaching. So he went to so many games and was watching, my guys, my secondary, my safeties, my defense when I was the coordinator. And I think that's where he picked up a lot. And he had coaches that did a great job. He has an ability to listen to what the coaches had to say, to watch film pretty much on his own with the coaches sometimes and process all that. And yeah, I'd like to say that all comes from me teaching him all that, but maybe I had a little part of that, but there's a lot of other people that had more to do with that than me.
I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say this too, because I got a chance to hang out with you a little bit. I walked up, and when I went home, I told my wife, I said, I just met Joe Burrow's twin, because I swear, because this kind of snarkiness that some people appreciate, some people don't, like this confidence that some people sometimes get confused for arrogance or whatever. You 100% gave me all of that when we were chopping it up, just talking a little bit of football and stuff, and I even think your wife too. I think like she's confident as well. So I think sometimes people get that confused with like being overconfident or arrogance or whatever. Is that a key thing that you instilled in him, like as he was growing up, and instilling confidence in him?
I guess as a family, you choose your family core values, and one was always to respect everybody, treat everybody the same, to understand that some people may not be as fortunate as you, but to always treat people as I said the same, with respect. Be disciplined in what you do, and be confident, because the more confidence you have to do something, then the better chance you're going to have to be successful at that. And so those are just small things. And he was always a good athlete, so some of that just comes naturally from being one of the better guys on your team. But I don't think we ever wanted him to be arrogant, and we probably did mention that sometimes, is that hey, you got to be confident and show respect, but you can't be out there talking smack and being disrespectful to other teams and other players and other coaches. So there was some of that we talked about, and for the most part over the years, he's been that way. So very little times have I said, oh man, he doesn't have confidence. I guess the first time he ever went on a soccer field, that was his first competitive sport. He stayed there with his hands in his pocket for about one whole practice, and I'm going, my goodness, this guy might not be an athlete, he might not even like sports. And then by the second day, he's confident, running up and down the field, elbowing people, and being physical and scoring goals. So but really he's always shown a lot of confidence on and off the field, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I think the mistake about your son is just, how confident he is, and the mental fortitude that he has. And that's why I felt like, because I also do a show with people around the AFC North, and they were talking about with Joe's return, he's going to have to mentally be ready. And I was like, well, if that's what the hurdle is, I'm sure that he can overcome that with no problem. Can you just talk about like Joe's comeback and what his mindset was? Because I feel like he really rose the mindset of the team, just showing up to OTAs ahead of schedule, fully suited, ready to go. Can you just talk about his mindset and in the return?
Well, I think again, chip on his shoulder, because right away he kept hearing he might not be ready even for the season. He might not be ready till the middle of the season. He might not be ready at the start of the season. That possibly that he wouldn't be playing at a higher level, maybe to the second year. And he does hear things like that. So right away, he just, from very early, day 2, 3, or 4, he just says, I'm gonna be ready for that first game. And so there's the confidence coming out again. But we went to California and had his surgery. A physical therapist out there just did a great job. And then when we got back to Cincinnati, Nick Cosgrave took over the physical therapy for the Bengals, and along with their staff, and just did an unbelievable job. Joe's personal strength coach, Dak Notenstein, jumped in there with the weightlifting part of that. And Joe has to be willing to put the work in for that to happen. So never missed a day, never wanted a day off. I'm sure there were days he wished that he didn't have to do it, and it was painful, but he put forth the effort and had the willpower to do it. And some people, I'd say maybe talking about his demeanor and his even keel and all that. I don't think anybody should ever take that as a sign of weakness or lack of intensity, because he wants to succeed and he wants to win, and as bad or as anybody I've ever seen. And I've been a coach for a long time, and he's always just been very competitive in everything he does. There's legendary in LSU about some of his ping pong battles, and I hear about him playing chess over at the stadium facility, and he still plays video games with his old high school friends and online. So he's always looking in his mind. He wants to compete, and it's something he does in a lot of different ways.
I want to take it back to the rehab process and stuff. So it's kind of like a 2-part question or whatever. Initially, I think because of maybe a little bit of the misfortunes of Cincinnati Bengals fans or what have you, there was a lot of discussion about him sitting for the whole entire year. I know that the injury probably initially as his father probably hit pretty hard. Was that a thought that you entertained, or something that you thought that maybe, hey, like, Joe, this is the NFL, like maybe you need to like slow it down. You got a long career ahead of you.
Yeah, I think that's as a dad, part of that. You just didn't want him to go back out there when he wasn't ready. And so, we had discussions about that, but we trusted the guys with the Bengals to make that decision, and along with Joe and along with his support staff over there. And you pretty much put that in their hands, and nobody ever came to me and said, well, you think he should sit, or you think he's ready, or anything like that. I mean, I just wanted to in their minds over there to think he was ready to do it, and they did a good job with that. And they didn't put him out there before he was ready.
Right.
I'd say probably in that early part of the season, he still maybe wasn't 100%. I think I've seen him say that, but he was never out there when he shouldn't be, and he never put himself in a danger of, hey, I'm not ready healthy enough to play, and got better really every week as far as the strength of his knee.
He had a press conference. I'll never forget it. I saved it like in this folder or whatever. It's the one time I think I've ever seen him probably have doubt. He came to the press conference and said, like, I'm not really looking good, not feeling good. He was talking about how we should be, maybe we'd be worried if I continue this path like that. The second part of my question was going to be, with that being said, when we were approaching the NFL draft in April, me and Ace had a thing on here. It was called Civil War, where we were talking about drafting an offensive lineman first round versus Jamar Chase. Was it something that you just were feeling like, okay, even if Joe is ready to play, I need to get my son the best protection of all time? I know that you're gonna be like, well, it's not, like it's the Bengals' decision. But tell me what you really truly felt. Were you thinking like, hey, I need to protect my son, or I need to get him some more weapons so he can be successful?
I think normally, as a dad and as a coach, I would have leaned toward an offensive lineman. But that's if I didn't know how good a player Jamar Chase was. So that changed kind of my mindset, because I knew how special of a receiver he would be, how tough he was, how fast he was, and I knew that Joe, in his mind, wanted him to draft Jamar, and felt that Jamar would add so much to their football team, and I agreed. I mean, I watched him play for 2 years, 15 games in person the last year at LSU, and I just knew he could change the outcome of a game, by himself, and you've seen that throughout the year.
No, that's facts. One thing that I wanted to say, Jimmy, was I wanted to thank you on behalf of Who Dey Nation. In 2020, when there was a lot of people saying, Joe should go somewhere else, you were very vocal that he had no problem with playing for Cincinnati. What were just your thoughts, like when the media was kind of trying to push him into another direction?
Well, there was never any facts out there that, hey, Joe's mom or dad said this, or Joe said this, or his agent said this. So when it was out there, there was fake news, so to speak, at times. And anytime people would ask us, we would just say, there's no truth to that. I mean, we're fine with him playing with the Cincinnati Bengals. And for us as parents, it's 2.5 hours away. And we went to the Super Bowl, be our 21st game to go to this year, which might not have even been possible if he'd have been drafted anywhere else. So for us, it was a perfect scenario. Joe, again, looked at it as a challenge. Hey, I can go to my home state, not very far from basically where I grew up, and have a chance to make history. And it's happened maybe faster than most people felt it would. But Joe's the least surprised of anybody, because he expected. But the Bengals are where we wanted him to be, and we were very comfortable with him being drafted by those guys.
Just to take it to a lighter note a little bit, let me ask you this: have you seen all of these nicknames that they've given your son, like Joe Burrow or Joe Shiesty?
I like seeing that stuff. It's cool. If I said that to Joe, he'd just kind of give me the Joe look, like, why do you look at all that stuff? They're going to put a burrito here in town, burrito, I think. And
I like that.
You see all that out there, but we're his mom and I, Robin. We like people having fun with it, and putting Joe out there, and they understand that's what a lot of people want to see. And some of that, like this burrito that's going into a place or two here in town, I think you're going to give like 20% to the food pantry. And
nice.
Right.
So just about anytime anybody asks us for permission to do something, we kind of tie in that. And in the Athens food pantry, the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund, in the last 2 weeks, they've added $55,000 to that the food insecurity here in the area. So things like that are great, and the more publicity I think that Joe gets, the more that he can help out on things like that, and we can help out.
Well, let me ask you, while you were speaking on that just now, is there a site that people can go to right now where they could donate if they wanted to for the Athens?
If you just Google Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Fund, I think there's a link there. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't know if there was like a faster way.
Yeah, you can get on that and do it, and then so that's a fun thing, and eventually. Joe spent so much time this last off season rehabilitating, but there'll be more things, here in the next few years that Joe will get involved with for the city and the state and the community over here in Southeast Ohio. So, we're looking forward to that. But right now, this is a big thing here in Southeast Ohio.
I was gonna say, with the nickname part though, just to take it back one second. Out of all the nicknames, what's your favorite one?
Well, that's I don't know. I kind of like Jackpot Joey.
Jackpot Joey.
I don't know if that's somebody.
I wore a Jackpot Joey shirt yesterday. I don't know who came up with
Strawberry Ice. Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. We got a couple of hats somebody sent us.
Okay.
And, somebody said it might be a bar or a beer or something somewhere. So I don't know, but that's kind of a cool one. Joe Montana. So, somebody said Joe Cool. So when they said, yeah, there's another Joe Cool. Well, until you win Super Bowls, there's really only one. That's Joe Montana, but
Right.
that's a pretty cool nickname too.
No, facts. So shifting gears to the Super Bowl, what are you excited to see with this upcoming matchup?
Oh, you have to repeat that part.
No.
Oh,
So
yes,
shifting focus to the Super Bowl, Jim, what are you looking forward to, I guess, from the most part with this matchup between the Bengals and the Rams?
Well, it all starts with protection, and that's really every week at every level of football when you throw the football. But we'll have a good plan to block those guys. They're very strong up front. I'm hoping that we'll be able to run the football, which I'm confident that we will, and that always takes pressure off your passing game, and then being a defensive guy, I'm always anxious to see how Lou Anarumo attacks the offense, and he'll have a great plan. They have a lot of explosive guys on offense, and so just looking at the chess match that's going back and forth between the coordinators is going to be fun to watch.
Facts.
We're like just talking about Lou Anarumo. I made like a meme or something earlier today, but like, are you somewhat like, do you watch a game like, I sat right behind you or whatever, but do you come out like in second half and say, this is what I would do to the adjustments in this game? Like these guys are getting killed in the first, and then he comes out in a 3-1-7 and drops got 8 back in the coverage. Are you like amazed at some of that stuff, or do you sit there and say, shit, that's what I would have called?
I'm probably a little more wrapped up in the dad thing at that point, but I do watch Lou's defense, and I did notice that we were dropping 8 and it was being effective, and I did notice that we were we had a spy in that drop 8. I think it might have been usually Sam Hubbard, and I did notice that we were starting to be able to cover those guys man to man better than what most people would have given us credit for. So
I think
his audio cut out.
I think it
oh,
made.
sorry.
Okay, there you go.
I got to know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we can hear you. Sometimes I think what happens is if somebody tries to call you, or
I know I don't know how to keep that from that, but
only thing I do is like do not disturb or something like that. That's the only thing I know how to do. I don't know.
So I got to know Lou when he was at Purdue through a former teammate of mine at Nebraska, and they hooked us up on the phone. They thought we had similar philosophies, and thought we'd get a lot out of talking to each other. So we communicated for a bunch of years when he was in college, and lost a little contact when he went to NFL, but occasionally we would text, and then so happy that he was there when Joe got drafted, and to me he should be up there for defensive coordinator of the year. I mean, we've improved so much this past game. I mean, I've seen Joe in an interview. He said, the defense won that game for us, and there's been several of those, and Joe, Lou does a great job, and they play really, really hard. I mean, right. Those guys the other day, I'm surprised they were able to go get on the plane, because they left it on the field, and that's a credit to Lou and his defensive staff.
Yeah,
right.
I think like even you were talking about Joe, like that was probably the most like Joe after the Titans game, because that was the only game I don't think I've been at in a while, and I watched it at home. I've never seen him look so relieved that we won a game, or like I think that's when he kissed Evan McPherson like on his cheek and everything like that. Yeah. That was like he was very. I think that was the first time I think he said I could see. He probably said, I didn't play my best ball, and I'm so glad that we got the heck up out of there. Yeah. Like, do you feel like he left some meat on the bone? He threw for 350 in that game, and people thought
that's right. I mean,
it's just a crazy game, though.
He's hard on himself, but he's honest, and he gives credit where credit's due. I mean, he said he told me that Tennessee defense was really, really hard during the course of that game to really figure them out, to get anything going. So he knows football well enough to know that if you got a kicker and you got a defense and your offense may be struggling, you still got a great opportunity to win the game. You just can't turn the ball over, and you got to take what they're going to give you. And I think Joe's normally pretty good at that.
Facts. Well, Jimmy, we appreciate you for coming through. We want to be respectful of your time. We know you got a busy schedule. Is there anything that you wanted to say to the fans before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, we just are so happy of that the Bengals.
Man, his phone is on fire. all right, go ahead, finish your thought.
We just like to thank all the fans, the Bengal fans, for supporting Joe, for supporting the Bengals. Robin, his mom, and I are super excited to be a part of the Bengal family, and the future looks great. And we're headed to the Super Bowl. I get chills saying that, but we're headed to the Super Bowl. So.
You definitely reminded me all night, like you and your wife. For every time I saw y'all, you was like, "We're going to the Super Bowl." We're 10 days away from one of the greatest moments of your life, and I really truly believe that. You talked about supporting and stuff. I want to let you know about some good food in our area. I mean, in the area that's right. There's a place called Midwest Best Barbecue, who actually sponsor our show.
Right.
It's in Loveland. If you ever get a chance, it's about 15 minutes from the stadium.
Okay.
I promise you to roll out the red carpet for you. Great barbecue, great food. I'm gonna let them know that, hey, Jimmy Burrow's coming to town.
Text me that name and the address, and we'll stop by there when we can, and maybe this spring when we're back over there. So 100%. I'll get that done.
100%. I got you. I'm gonna send it to you. You're gonna love it.
I'm from Mississippi. I like barbecue now. So.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you like some good food and some barbecue. This place has the best wings and best barbecue, I think, in town. So I'm gonna text you that info and make sure they take good care of you.
Yeah. Right, thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate you. You got some big shows. What shows are you on this week? Who are you?
That was just a call from NBC. ESPN is here tomorrow. We're on Fox News. I've been on 3 or 4 Baton Rouge stations, Nebraska stations. I've been on Montreal because I played in the CFL. I'm on a Vancouver one here at 1:30. Montreal, Toronto. The Today Show is reached out. I haven't been able to get back to them yet. So
good.
I had to be on your show, bro.
I'm about to say, here we go. And then you went on the biggest show in the world, the Orange is the New Black podcast.
That's right. I'm on yours now. So I put everybody else on the back burner. So let's go.
We appreciate that. And Zem, we got to end this with a yes.
Sirski.
Hello, world. What separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sports in high school.